If there's something I'm kind of thinking about for a new product and program in the future, I start to pay attention to how people are using things. What are they doing? Where are people kind of congregating? What shifts am I seeing or noticing? Yeah, just staying curious and continuing. Like we talked about this in the first one, to connect and talk with your members. But I certainly do this as a product manager when I'm in the gym talk. I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing today? Okay, have you thought about maybe adding a little strength in?" Like, we've got this group of older retired gentlemen that come in the morning, and they're always like on the recumbent bike or on an elliptical. Okay, have you thought about maybe trying some other things, and just understanding why they're resisting change, because people will resist change, and how to kind of
Yes.
nudge them along.
Hi, everybody, wherever you are listening to the Research Hub podcast. And in our last episode, I'm hoping you caught that. There's a chance to get it if you haven't. We were looking at part one on fitness trends and how they're shaping how people train and how operators are adapting these within their facilities. Our second episode today, we are zeroing in on indoor cycle, which I'm so pleased that we have one segment completely about indoor cycle. The category has changed over the years, there's no doubt about it. So what is driving participation now? How are clubs keeping the riders engaged? And how are different markets approaching cycling in their areas, from premium experience to a lower cost setup? My riding partner today, partner in crime, is again the wonderful Becky Jalbert. So, Becky, if you'd like to introduce yourself for anyone who doesn't know you.
Sure. Thanks, Lynn. I'm Becky Jalbert. I'm the Senior Global Product Manager for personal and group training for the Matrix Fitness brand. So I work with our design teams to bring products to market that are used in that coached environment, cycling obviously being one of those categories. In addition to that, I've been teaching and training for 20 years, and cycling is one of those formats that I've been teaching for 20 years. So it's a category I understand well, something I do at least a couple times a week myself personally. So yes, I'm excited to have this conversation with you today.
Definitely. And for anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Lynn Wilson. I'm the group exercise and functional training specialist for Matrix UK. And more so for me, indoor cycling was one of the first qualifications I got decades ago. And it still remains, a weekly part of my routines. I tutor it, I assess it as well. So this is a great conversation for me. But Becky, I'm hearing I'm hearing so much about indoor cycling at the moment. Is it on the rise? Is it on the decline? Officially, what is the current state of play for indoor cycling?
Yeah, we've definitely seen the indoor cycling category or format probably take the biggest hit post COVID of any of the formats, which has been interesting. It's been around for a long time. I do think it'll continue to stay, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it was definitely one of the harder hit categories. According to the Sports Fitness Industry Association, participation rates are down by about 33%. I will say, based on our own indoor cycling sales for Matrix, we're definitely seeing those numbers come back up to pre-COVID levels. So that's great, but definitely one of the harder hit segments post-COVID.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's exactly what we're saying. And I can't believe we're actually saying the word COVID in this, and that, we're still experiencing impact from it. And we're sure we're not the only industry there either. How do you feel that's affected the participation, but for me, the instructor availability? Because that's the questions and conversations I'm having on a weekly basis with operators.
Yeah, absolutely. With the clubs being forced to shut down during COVID, people look to other avenues for their fitness outlet at home. And because cycles take up a very small amount of space, that was an easy modality for them to bring in without a lot of cost. So when they were coming back, They were looking for things that they couldn't do at home. So a little more heavier strength training, things like that. So a little more strength focus versus cardio focus because they could ride, they could run, they could still challenge their heart in other ways outside of the facility. But from an instructor standpoint, when those facilities were closed, they had to look for ways to provide for their families and take care of themselves. So when that wasn't an option, I think a lot of them left that segment of the market and found other jobs. So we're hearing from our customers, and it sounds like you are as well, that they're having a difficult time recruiting instructors. And we know for group fitness, that instructor is key to the success of the program. Like they are just a really big piece of the puzzle. And so we know our customers have been struggling to really kind of recruit and find more instructors to replace the ones that have lost. And we're also hearing that they've got instructors that have been teaching for a long time, like myself, but they're not getting the younger people coming in that actually want to teach those classes. And that's been a big problem.
And do you know what? That has been the big story. I can only talk about the UK. Exactly. They went and got other full-time jobs. There's not the availability of instructors. And because of the availability across the board, level 2, level 3 instructors on the gym floor now are being expected more than ever to take group exercise classes. And there's a big difference between, taking a circuit class or functional class to indoor cycling, and especially with the music element and the riding to the beat. And if you've not got that ETM qualification, and it is heartbreaking that they're not even looking at that as an option anymore, and I'm hoping that we can use some more education around that. I know Matrix has a foundation course that they're looking at. Is that something that you feel is going to help with recruitment of instructors in the future?
Absolutely. Like anything we can do on our end to support our customers really solve this problem. We're hearing that our customers are recruiting members from the front row that are those enthusiasts taking those classes, but maybe don't have a fitness background. So they're recruiting those people. They're recruiting front desk workers as well. And so by giving them this online format that really gives them that base level understanding of how to create, teach, and craft an indoor cycle class and how to work with music to really elevate that experience, I think is going to just be a fantastic resource for our customers because that is what they need. They're struggling, and that's why we're going to roll out this online resource for our customers to really support them and help them.
Yeah, and I think that is so necessary at the moment. And you're right. I think we're choosing from a different demographic of staff now that we would never have chosen before to do classes. And there is something that's niche about, indoor cycle as well. And, and really how you can teach that and bring that to life. So given those demands, um, in your opinion, is cycling, indoor cycling, still a long-term solution for operators now? Is it still worth bang for your buck having a good old fitness studio now with spin bikes in it?
Absolutely. I mean, indoor cycling ties into something you can do in your everyday life, like riding outside, and it's very inclusive, it's low impact. It allows you to challenge your cardiovascular fitness as well as building strength in your legs. Unlike riding outside in a pack, you can get dropped or left behind. In an indoor cycling class, no one gets left behind, and I love that. And I was even teaching last week, and I had a new guy that was referred from one of the other personal trainers, and she let me know he was coming, had never ridden before, deconditioned. So I knew that right out of the gate. I was helping him and just said, hey, you know what? Take a break when you need to take a break. Totally okay. Everyone's starting in a different spot. And I had another gentleman who used to ride a lot outside, but he's let his fitness slide as well. And he was struggling a bit last week, and that's okay. And then we have others that have been coming for years and they're there multiple times a week and they can handle anything. So it's just so inclusive. And so I don't think it's ever going to go away. Some things our club owners can do is certainly Maybe not have as many bikes in the studio because you want to have a full class, right? If you've got 20 bikes and only half of them are full, that's not a great optic. But if all those bikes are filled, everybody wants something they can have. Like, say there's a wait list, and they're like, all of a sudden, well, I've got to get on the wait list. And then maybe they create more classes on their timetable. So I do think you just have to kind of pay attention to what are your attendance numbers. You need to pull a few bikes out. So you create that sense of urgency, and then maybe you slowly sprinkle a couple more back in as those attendance numbers go up. It can be cyclical too, based on where you're at in the world and your climate. And we certainly see that here in the Midwest, where in the summertime, our numbers for indoor cycle drop off because everybody wants to be outside. And I don't blame them. Get that
Yes.
sunshine, fantastic. So then maybe you reduce your class offerings in the summer and then build them back up in the fall and winter and spring. It's great. I do think it'll absolutely be here long term. It's been around for a long time, and I don't think it's gonna disappear.
Yeah, you know what? It's really refreshing to hear someone who is in equipment to go, pull your bikes back a bit. Because for me, this is, I think every instructor out there will firstly go, it's about an experience. Any member that comes into any type of group exercise class, they're coming first and foremost for the experience, and that's what's going to bring them back. And you're right, riding in that pack, having that atmosphere when it's full, it just gives a completely different experience. And you're right, I love indoor cyclers. I can have someone who's got that all the way dialed up, and someone who's really just starting, a little bit of resistance on push point. Doesn't matter. You can't tell any difference. And it's just such a level playing field. That, I'm hoping that we get the buzz back for it. On that as well, though, the operators have got to strike a balance, though, haven't they, between the type of bike they buy with all the technical element that can come with it now and the member investment.
Mhm.
And also an instructor who's like, I learnt on these bikes 20 years ago and I want this particular bike. How do they balance expectations and investment in equipment?
Yeah, so there is definitely a move towards more technology in that studio space for some of our customers as well, where you're creating this immersive environment. Whether it's just visuals that they're riding through or that are tied to the music or more of a leaderboard type experience. So, yeah, obviously there's going to be a larger investment if you choose to do that, but it will elevate that experience. The other piece of that is, are your instructors willing to learn how to use that additional technology? Because there is a learning curve to that. And then if you're teaching cycle, you're already carving out time to create your profile that fits the goal of the class, layering your music, checking all those boxes. That's another layer on top. Depending on, there's different systems that make that easier than others, but it is going to be an investment. And then if it's a dedicated studio and you only have a couple classes a week, is it worth that additional investment? Or can you also do some on demand so you can offer more classes at more convenient times without the overhead of paying instructors for 5 classes a day versus 2? It's kind of weighing out all of those variables. And again, it comes down to how many people are taking indoor cycling.
Yeah.
That's what it's always going to come down to. You don't want to invest all this and then have 5 people show up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It sounds like it's bang for the buck out of the use for space and a multi-purpose space, which I think everyone wants nowadays, don't they? So would you say you're seeing any global or regional differences that stand out to you in how facilities and operators are approaching group exercise in that space? Is there anything that stands out?
If we're just talking about group exercise and formats, again, it's going to come down to the brand and who they are. And if they're offering group training, I will say, like across the board, there's usually a strength training format. There might be some sort of hit format, probably mind body, whether it's Pilates or yoga, recovery, all of those stay pretty true. And then you might see some variances again, depending on the demographics that they're targeting. You might have more of one thing, less of another. And then again, does it tie into their brand? Is there something kind of unique that really fits their brand that they want to offer? Are they licensing programming like Les Mills? Some choose to do that. Then you've got that consistency from instructor to instructor, location to location. Or are you creating your own content? And if you're creating your own, how do you get that consistency and repeatability, scalability across locations in terms of providing that consistent brand experience? So I would say there's more differences based on the brand and the demographics that they're targeting more than it is geographically. And I would say that, Australia, Europe, US are more similar in terms of those trends and programming versus Asia, as an example. There might be more differences there. Asia tends to be a little behind, where US, Europe, Australia tend to be a little more ahead of that training curve in programming than those other markets.
So how are you seeing like the mid market being challenged then compared to premium and more affordable areas? What are you seeing there then?
Yeah, so I think the mid-market is being squeezed a little bit more because we're seeing more high value, low cost, low price facilities that are offering very basic amenities at a very, I would say, inexpensive price point for members. And then on the luxury high end, you've got these premium experiences, more personalized offerings, more specialized classes. And so in the middle, you've really got to be smart about how am I different than that entry level, like basic experience and that premium offering and experience. And how can I make myself stand out without driving up my overhead too high? Right.
Yeah.
And it's just finding that balance. So I do think it's a little harder because you've got more money to play with from a membership standpoint than the basic high value low cost versus that premium. But premium has more money to play with to really create those high end luxury experiences that you're not going to have playing in the middle.
And very left field question, Becky. I know you're not expecting this. From an indoor cycle point of view, do you think any market is running away with it? Is it the low cost operator, or is it the premium right now that, like, yeah, you've got indoor cycle right? Is there anyone we should particularly follow? And I'm sorry because I know that's left field on you.
Yeah, so the high volume low cost player sometimes won't even offer group training, and if they are, obviously they can't offer a very premium experience. So I think more on the premium side where you've got, all you're really taking them out of that studio space. They're bringing in more technology, but we're also seeing a trend towards more like party on a bike, like just having fun. And
Yeah,
like I went to a class where we were dancing on a bike and we were standing 98% of the time, which that's awesome. Like if you love that, but I tend to be a purist when it comes to training. I love to dance. I love to cycle. I don't typically do them at the same time. But in terms of anybody really knocking it out of the park, I think it's evolved from Soul Cycle days where it was very much about the experience, the instructor, the sense in the studio, not necessarily about performance and grounded in those training principles like we tend to be as instructors and trainers that have been around for a long time, right? But again, it's about getting people to move, right? And what's the best
yeah,
way to do that and really tap into that motivation and make them feel like they're a part of something, so it's the gear, it's the branding that goes along with that. Like they want to be one of those people that come in and take that class every week.
yeah.
They're whether it was Cycle Bar, Soul Cycle, we tend to see boutiques really nailing that experience the best because they
Mm.
only do one thing, right? Where commercial clubs are usually offering a lot of different things. So obviously when you're specialized, you become better at that one thing.
It's interesting that because years ago, when I was operating studios, it was so great because my studio, we had party on a bike, which was me, but
Mhm.
not the dancing, but big party on a bike. And then I was able to recruit other freelancers who were pure outdoor cyclists, and this was part of their training for that. And it was the array of indoor cycle instructors and the experience we offered was absolutely amazing. It was packed every time. And you're right, we don't have that now. So I know I'm certainly looking at a push to go out and even do masterclasses so people can really feel the difference and kind of generate that passion again and hopefully, catch the eye of these purists as well to get on and bring that experience back. So I think that's what we're pushing for on this side. Thinking about the indoor cycle and thinking about our part one where we went around fitness trends. To summarize it, what should operators be preparing for? And I know it's a big question for the next 3 to 5 years when it's coming to trends, member expectations, and future proofing their business. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we know just from tracking trends over time that they don't, like, true trends don't change a whole lot. They just kind of shift and evolve,
Hmm.
right? So strength training is still going to be there, cardiovascular training, recovery, flexibility, mind body, like all of those stuff are going to be all of those things are going to be there, fitness, racing, but it will evolve. And so it's just being curious, really watching what's happening around you, whether it's more specialty boutiques popping up. What are they offering? What are they doing? Could you potentially lose members if you don't start to think about incorporating that into your own facility and just staying curious? And I know I do this when I'm in the club every week. If there's something I'm kind of thinking about for a new product and program in the future, I start to pay attention to how people are using things. What are they doing? Where are people kind of congregating? What shifts am I seeing or noticing? Yeah, just staying curious and continuing, like we talked about this in the first one, to connect and talk with your members. But I certainly do this as a product manager when I'm in the gym talk. I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing today? Okay, have you thought about maybe adding a little strength in?" Like, we've got this group of older retired gentlemen that come in the morning and they're always like on the recumbent bike or on an elliptical. Okay, have you thought about maybe trying some other things and just understanding why they're resisting change, because people will resist change, and how to kind of
Yes.
nudge them along. But yeah, it's really staying curious and knowing that you will have to evolve, but when you're building out those spaces, not just looking at today, thinking about those functional spaces, but how can you future proof it by understanding, could I swap out a couple things if I needed to be to evolve that space, but leave it relatively intact? Awesome. Or maybe add a new modality that's suddenly, on the rise again. Can I carve out a little space for that? And then I do think too, like, as you're targeting certain demographics, we as a fitness equipment manufacturer do try to think about that lifespan from youth to, college to 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like
Yeah.
supporting them throughout that journey or their lifespan. And so maybe your target demographic is a younger generation today, but ideally you want them to stay with you, right? So thinking through how you can evolve that space and that programming to keep them on their health and fitness journey as well. Just something to think about.
Yeah, it really comes back down to that programming and variety as well, doesn't it? And not reinventing the wheel and swapping a few little bits out, moving around on your gym floor. It could feel like a whole new gym floor, can't it? If you really invest in that side of it. Last question: is there anything in particular on a trend that you've really got your eye on or excited about, or how it's going to evolve? What's your personal preference? You can swerve the question if you want, but what's
I have
exciting you?
I have to be careful here for competitive
Yeah,
purposes. I can't really share our roadmap, but just
no,
know roadmap is being driven by these trends that we watch
love it.
closely, and having conversations with customers to understand, are they seeing and hearing the same things we're seeing and hearing, and then just really tracking those trends. So I can't really share exactly what we're working on. I have a lot of exciting things that we're working on that will absolutely be on trend and help and support our customers to create those spaces that'll accommodate their members' needs today and well into tomorrow.
I know you're always excited about something, Becky, so I had to try and see if I could squeeze it out. Well swerved. Becky, thank you. This is the end of our two-part series. We've looked at the fitness trend, we've touched on indoor cycling, and for me, I'm the same as you. It is still drawing loyal riders, and we've just got to keep that going. it's still there. It's not going anywhere. It's just time for people to have a fresh look at it. Can't thank you enough for your time and your insights. Really valuable for anybody listening. And again, if anyone is listening to this for the first time, we hope you've enjoyed it. There are plenty more episodes, unfortunately without me and Becky, but with some really amazing people as well on the Matrix Fitness Global YouTube channel. Check it out. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next one.